Hope you guys liked the video we published last week where Michael interviewed one of our students who became a profitable trader and kind of talked about his story, the behind the scenes. Today we thought we'd do a new one. Michael sat down with a different student, Brendan, who's also a trader who had a lot of progress in the past few months. You get to see exactly what he did and what he went through, learn the behind the scenes of what it's like to become a profitable trader. So hopefully you enjoy, and I'll catch you back here at the end.
The piece that sticks with me is consistency and doing the same thing every day. Did I say artistic? Did I say make my schedule artistic? I did. I said that.
I love it. You're going clear on me now, James Clear, and I love it because that's it. Like he don't reinvent the wheel. Hi traders, welcome back to the channel. So a few weeks back, I had an opportunity to fly out to Las Vegas for the annual Traders Expo. Now, it's changed a bit over the years, admittingly, but I always managed to come back with a few nuggets that I could bring to my trading game and arsenal. But this time was a little different. I met some of the Desire to Trade members, many of whom which I coach. All right, and it's much different than a Zoom call. You always get to meet them. They open up more personally about their personal lives and even about their families, which many of them attended. So it was really cool to see that. To really get the faces behind the passion and the dreams that they have. Remember, these are human beings here. They're not just numbers and subscriptions, all right? These are human beings who want to change their life. And I consider an honor and blessing that they chose us to do that. And I'm going to make sure they add value and make sure that I'm going to get as much as I can out of them out of our one-on-one sessions. Now, today, we're going to meet Brandon, all right? Been a Desire to Trade member with us, and his focus was he wants to improve his routines. And you'll see throughout, he's very open about his challenges about it. And we've talked about this on calls before, but this is a time where we really want to focus this. So this session, one-on-one session, purely is routines. And it was really nice of Brandon to sort of open up and allow the cameras to run while we're doing it. And also you'll get a taste of what a one-on-one call with a coach is really all about. So let's get right to it. Let's meet Brandon. Tell us a little bit about yourself and really the journey, your trading journey that you've been on so far.
Yeah, well, thanks. And thanks for having me on. I was telling you before, it was about 3 years ago that I decided I'd get serious about trading. And I just Googled podcasts. I thought that would be a great way to kind of stay engaged and learn more from interviews and that sort of thing. And sure enough, Etienne and Desire to Trade came up at the top of the podcast list. And, every time I'd go to the gym or every time I'd go for a walk, whatever it was, I'd put in my earbuds and I'd listen to the podcast. And that got me kind of hooked on Desire to Trade. And I think this is, I've just like everybody, you sign up for a course here or a seminar there. I think the one thing I've done consistently for the last 3 years is Desire to Trade. And learning the different strategies, working with the algos, doing a bunch of back testing. But the one thing that has really been effective in the last year, where I really feel I'm there, has been the accountability group that we put together. And frankly, I wouldn't have come out here to this expo if it wasn't for the fact that our group is all here. Mostly, I think there's one guy from Croatia who wasn't able to make it out.
Yeah. What happened with that?
Yeah, right. Rob, come on, man. But you meet, you visit with these people every day for not every day, but every week for a year, and it's all virtual, so you don't really you don't have an opportunity to see them in three dimensions. I was like, yeah, I'll go out to the expo and meet you guys, and have a drink and talk trading, and so it's been fun. I'm glad I did it.
All right, and I agree with Brendan. It's always fun to finally meet, the individuals you're coaching. It's much better than a Zoom call. So what I want to do is get a little more sort of in depth, get to the meat of the matter. I want to see if I can extract a connection between his routines and his trading, and what are some of the things that we're identifying that's impacting those, and how we can improve upon it. So let's continue with this. We were talking in our last session, and downstairs we were talking at the expo floor, that there was something that you really have in your development plan that you want to sort of take a grip on next in your trading journey. And tell us a little about that.
Yeah, I've really worked on building routines around my trading. When you first start out, you trade whenever you can. So at different times of the day, maybe you're flipping between different time frames that you're trading. So you don't never really get consistency. You're always kind of changing things. There's no control group there, right? If you're doing an experiment, if you're trying to figure out what works, what doesn't, if you don't have a controlled set of criteria, circumstances, it's really difficult to figure out, well, was that me? Was it my strategy? Was it just luck? What happened there, right? And, so over time, I've started building in routines where it's the same time of day that I'll be trading, and it's the same time frame, same strategy, same, trying to eliminate the variables. So now when I look back at my trading journal and I can see my setups and I can see the criteria, was it the strategy? Do I really have an edge? And it comes back to the math, right? After you've taken 100 trades or 200 trades, after you've taken a lot of trades and you can look at your outcome, you can say to yourself, okay, statistically, there's an edge here or not. Both are important to be able to decipher. But once you can see that, now you can build confidence.
All right, so I want to stop here and really make that connection. Now, Brandon's bringing up between the mathematical edge in a strategy, which we preach at Desire to Trade, and his confidence. All right, this is really important. And really one of the things that coaches can do is sometimes just, you have an agenda and you have some topics you want to discuss, but you want to let this run here because this is really an important connection you make. Of course, the better you do and the more P&L you attain, you're going to probably have more confidence. But I want to really take a deep dive into what Brandon's talking about here.
I think that has been really the piece that's been lacking in my trading for so long. It's just confidence, because I don't really know. When you're first starting out, you don't know whether or not it's working or if you're just being lucky.
Now, based on his answer, I really don't have to take a deep dive into this sort of edge and trading. He's very aware of the math behind it. So I'm not going to put too much pressure on there. I really am going to focus more on specifics. What exactly is this routine all about, and what can we do to help improve his trading? So let's continue here. Absolutely. And I love what you said about the math thing. I mean, obviously, you get drilled in our academy, and we really focus on, this math element of things, really, because we want to identify, is it, the markets, or is it you? Is things like that. So we want to make sure, and to do that, you have to be compliant with your trades and your trading plan on strategies that have a historical edge. That's all we have. So we're going to kind of go Mark Douglas on this and take advantage. But in order to do that, though, the reality is in life that traders have obstacles. Traders have things going on. Work, full-time job, right? So how do you take a grip on routines, particularly in the preparation of your day? And tell us a bit about what you're doing or some of the areas that you need to improve in.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I have a very specific routine in the morning. I get up at 4:30 every morning. First thing I do is I look at my charts. I pull out my phone. I say, okay, did I get a signal? Is a setup there? Because, for what I've been trading, I tend to get a signal between about 4 o'clock and 5:30 in the morning my time. So 4:30, I'm looking, is something that I missed that, maybe 15 minutes, it hasn't moved very, very much, I can still get in. Or, now I've got it in front of me, I don't have the signal yet, but I'm waiting for it, right? Gives me a chance to go down and feed my pets, right? I got 2 cats and a dog, and they're ready for me as soon as I wake up. Gives me a chance to clean up around the kitchen. That's all part of my routine. I do the same thing every morning. Clean up the kitchen, feed my pets. Sometimes I throw a load of laundry in if I need to, that type of thing. But
got to do the laundry.
Yeah, right. I mean, by about 5:15, I'm down in front of the monitor. If I still don't have the signal, I start reading my book. I have a novel or something. But I'm just waiting, and I'm waiting for everything to align just the way I like it, and inevitably it does. And then I place my trade, and that's my routine every morning. And if that's the only trade I make every day, I'm good.
Yeah. And I mean, that's, kind of perfect. Well, you do your things, all of a sudden trade set up and go. So, and I know a lot of traders who, are in their development stage, like we all are probably saying to myself, yeah, but do you ever start thinking about looking at the clock going, hey, this trade better enter because I got to start getting to the office?
Absolutely. I mean, that happens all the time. In fact, there are times, by 6:30 to 6:45 in the morning, I need to be upstairs, taking a shower, getting ready for work. And if it doesn't happen before then, guess what? It's not going to happen that day, right? I just I either miss it or I just move on. And it's nice. Sometimes it's nice when I don't have a trade on, because then I don't have the stress of kind of watching my phone to see what's going to go. I mean, one of my rules is I don't change, I don't change anything. I don't go in and move my stops. I don't adjust anything. I don't go to break. I don't do any of that. Once I place a trade, I have my stops in place, I have my take profit in place, and I walk away, right? So it's either going to win or lose, right? But based on my math, right, I'm going to win more than I lose, or really it's 50-50, but my position sizing allows me to be profitable over time. And that's it, right? I mean, I've been able to do that with my morning routine and still get to work and not stress out about it once I get to work. That's been the toughest part for me.
And I love the way, Brendan, you articulated it in the sense that, like, yeah, you have fun with the laundry, the pets and stuff, but that trade goes on and that's it. And if I miss it, you miss it. Now, I don't know, place a comment below in the community. I said, let me know if that's ever happened where you're upset that you missed a trade. It takes a long time, Brendan, doesn't it, to say, that's okay. I'm okay. The math is on my side, right? Like you even said, sometimes I'm glad it didn't happen because now I'll be thinking about it all day.
Well, yeah, but it is always going to be there. I missed a trade today, right? It's President's Day. So, the markets are very, not much volume, right? Not much participation. So stay out, don't trade, right? And I looked at the charts this morning, and it was my setup, and I didn't take it. And lo and behold, had I would have had a positive turnout. It's like, gosh, I missed that one, right? It's like, okay, not a big deal, right? There is something comfortable about being flat in the markets where it's like, I don't have any risk on, so I'm good, right? That's great. The same thing when it's high volatility. It's like, yeah, maybe I could make a lot of money, but you know what? I could lose a lot of money too. Probably better not to be involved right now. Wait until you have kind of a calm market, and boom, there's your setup. Take the trade.
Okay, so I'm observing, Brandon's calmness too about this whole thing, and seems like he's very comfortable with me. And with the cameras going and everything like that, he seems to be fine with it. So I'm going to take advantage of that and really start to drill specifics about his routines and what we can do as far as me developing recommendations for the next step in his journey. So let's continue with this wrap up. But I love, Brendan, your mindset and your sort of muscle that you've built where, yeah, I missed it. It's okay. How many traders, and place a comment below, can say, I'm okay with that? Because I know some traders would be like, I can't believe I missed that thing, especially, and they're all winners, by the way, aren't they?
It's the difference between, at the end of the month, I had, a 7% gain, or I had a 6.5% gain, right? It's like, is that going to be the end all? Or is that peace of mind worth half a point that you would have reported at the end of the month, that type of thing? So, I mean, keeping it all in perspective, and, the more you do it, the more you realize when you hear the pros are, it's just one trade. It really is. It's just one trade. There's a great video clip of Roger Federer. I don't know. I think I shared it with you and the rest of the group and this accountability group. He's giving a graduation speech. I think it was at Dartmouth, and he's talking about his statistics. He's like, of all the thousands, 10,000 matches, however many it is, how many matches, I won about 80% of those matches, but I only won about 53% of the points in those matches, right? And I saw it again recently. His quote, his video came up on my feed, and I watched it again. He was talking about, he's like, when you're playing a point, it's got to be the most important thing in the world to you. You're so focused and you're doing everything you can to win that point. But you got to remember, it's just a point. It doesn't matter if you hit the ball in the net, just a point, you double fault, or if you hit the most amazing winner and you're going to be on the highlight reel on ESPN that night, just a point, right? Get over it. Start focusing on the next point. Keep moving forward. And that's his mindset. Instead of dwelling on the past, it's always what's next, what's next. And I think it's so relevant to the trading profession, where it's just a trade, right? It's just a trade. Move forward. What's the next trade? What's the next setup? Where are you? What's your routine? Tell you're going to be able to do. I shared with you. I like this
Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
Sure.
James Clear.
Absolutely.
I think it's a great book. So insightful. His catchphrase, 1% better every day. But there's so much more to it than that, because it's about developing routines and habits that keep you on the right track, keep you moving forward. And that's really what I've been focusing on, and trying to figure out how do I build in not just my trading habits, but my life habits. How do I spend more time with my wife and kids? How do I get to the gym more often? How do I balance that with my regular job and fit the trading into my life? Balancing all of that, in order to do that consistently, you have to build routines, you have to build healthy habits. And so that's my journey, right? Trying to figure out, how do I stack all of this in a way that it all works together in a very elegant way,
Yeah, very well put. I mean, don't get me going on James Clear. It's great stuff. But one of the things, and I love about these conversations, and I'm glad that the YouTube community can see a little glimpse of some of the one-on-ones that we do behind the scenes and things like that. And we know it's not easy to do this in front of a live audience, but it's great. What I love is that, and by the way, my peak performance coach also referenced that speech, and we'll put a link below as long as it's we have the rights to do it. So put a link below so you can watch that whole graduation speech. But what was very interesting in my peak performance training was that she focused on, there's always, like, when you miss the point, whether you win it or lose it, the next point, there's actually a time, like a delay of game if you don't start your serve in the next 15 seconds or something. So like in trading, there is the next trade.
Right.
So one of the things that I like to instill in our coaching too is that there's a sort of fear that I'm going to miss something that won't come back. But no, we could almost guarantee that the next trade is right there. Right. And it's okay. And once you have sort of a comfort, and it's great to see you've built that muscle, because not too many people have that in the beginning. Once you build that muscle of it's okay, and you said that a few times in your words, and it is, because then the next one awaits. The point was won or lost. You go to the next one. The cool thing about this business is, whether it's tennis or trading, the next one is coming. Right. Now, when you go to work, is it pretty much, if I have an open position, it's set it, forget it, and I don't think about it? Or is it like, does the routines focus purely on work when you're in the office?
That's a really good question. And frankly, it's something I need to work on. Some days I'll have a task that I'm an attorney. I work for the local school district. And, sometimes I'll go in and there's a document I have to review, or there's something that I have to work on, that I get so engrossed in, I just forget everything else. Right? I don't have time for it. I'm focused. Other times when I'm bouncing around and I have a conversation here, a phone call here, a text message, an email, communications coming in from all these different, and I don't have the ability to get into flow, the rhythm of just doing one thing, then I find myself looking at my phone. Okay, where is it now? Where is it now? Where is it now? I decided to track it all with my FX book, right? So I get the updates, and what's so, theoretically, it only updates every 5 minutes. So there's no reason to look back at your phone more than once per 5 minutes.
Are you talking to me?
Right. But, I'm sitting there every 30 seconds, refreshing. What's going on? How about now? So that's actually, that is something I have put on my kind of personal development plan, is to not be distracted. Stay off of my FX book, stay off of the charts. Once I've placed that trade, it is what it is. Hope for the best. Not hope. I mean, I'm basing it
on
the math, right?
Yeah, let the math
but
play
once it's placed, get out of its way. And ironically, there for a while, in the morning, especially, and even now, if I have time, for whatever reason, I'm working from home one morning, or, whatever it is, and I have time, I will play straight. I'll walk away. You got to walk. We were talking about, go to Costco, right? Get out of just go away and don't think about it. And that's when you have your best results. It's when you're sitting there trying to micromanage it, and you're, it looks like maybe that's a, candlestick that and a engulfing candle in the wrong direction. Maybe I need to get out now, instead of just let it play out, see what happens, And most of the time that works. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's like, gosh, I was 3 pips away, But most of the time, that's not the case.
And I've always said too, and this is maybe controversial, and I don't hear it on YouTube a lot, is when I see traders who have full-time work, I say, great. That's actually an edge in your trading, because you're not going to be monitoring things, and let it play out. You force the math to happen. So if you have other things and you look at that as a detriment, or I'm going to quit my job because I can't trade. No, that's actually, you're going to kill one of your biggest edge, not to mention a lot of other things like, fear and things like that you have to overcome. So I love where you're at, Brandon. And I see the momentum going on. Obviously, things are coming up. We still have, plenty of calls to go, things like that. But, any final thought? I've enjoyed this. We have other things, and we're going to do a more in-depth. I'm going to do a summary and a brief, so stick with us. I'm going to show you what some of the advice I have for Brandon to going forward. But any last thoughts on your journey in this routine, and where do you want to be? Where do you want to see yourself from a routine perspective? Say in the next 6 months, things like that. You got a big chunk in front of you.
That's a great question, because it makes me, even as we're sitting here, think, okay, what's my next routine? What do I build in? What do I stack on top of where I am right now? And I'd like to be able to get a workout in every day. I'd like to be able to spend more time with my wife. I would like to be on top of my work, so that I'm not constantly chasing emails, but I'm in front of them, and that's all part of the routine building as well, because I know that when I stack it the right way, when I build my schedule, my routines the right way, I'll be more effective in my day job than I am currently, or that I have been in the past, and I'll be a more effective husband, I'll be more healthy, and I'll be a better trader, right? All of it starts to fit together once you organize it the right way. But I think there's really something to it, taking these little steps that you can do in terms of how you structure your days, how you build, how you methodically work through your workday, in order to have positive outcomes in so many different areas of your life. And, for me, for the first 2 years of my trading journey, it was all about trying to balance my day job with my trading, right? And the stress that would cause, and anxiety, not just the anxiety, but also, how it would have a detrimental effect on my day job, because I'm not doing my best here and I'm not doing my best here. Once you are able to compartmentalize that into these very manageable chunks, it all starts to work together. And I'm glad to report, I'm not 100% there. I mean, I still have a lot of work to do. I think we all do, right? But I'm making progress in the right direction. I'm happy about that.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed this in-depth look of a one-on-one session with one of our members. All right, and a very unique topic about establishing, developing routines. Many of our one-on-one calls aren't about strategy. They're about muscle building and overcoming those immobilizers that we've identified that we have to overcome to become the traders that we want to be. All right, I hope you enjoyed it. Click on the link below, and I'll actually give you a PDF summary of what I provided for Brandon. Summary of my assessment, summary of recommendations, and also next steps for our next call, which will probably be in a few weeks. All right, I hope you enjoyed that in-depth look. Let me know your comments, and we'll see you next time.
So there you have it. Hope you liked this video as always. Hope you got some value out of it. Make sure you give us a like if you enjoyed the video today. That would mean a lot for me. And we can actually tell YouTube that more people want to see that kind of videos. Any questions for Brandon or for Michael or for myself, comment below. Let us know your questions. We might do other videos, if any topics, ideas, put them in the comment section below. And we'll catch you back here in the next video pretty soon. Ciao.